So, Tom, Melissa Flora Bixler says that if we're to have enemies well, we first need to understand them.
Understand your enemy.
Understand your enemy.
We're like on opposite sides of the court here, so I have to understand you.
Yep.
If you're to be my enemy.
Yep.
I read a book a long time ago, and I've been waiting forever to use this story in it. It's a novel called The Brothers K. And do you know the reference?
I've only heard of this book from you, but I have heard of the Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah, Dostoevsky, classic book that nobody really wants to read. But
no, I haven't read it.
Actually, I read up to the Grand Inquisitor, and you could just read the Grand Inquisitor by itself and not read the rest of the book. That's the best part of it. So anyway, but it's also, the K is a play on the slang for strikeout.
Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Not your baseball.
No,
yeah.
no.
So you teach me hockey terms. I teach you baseball terms.
Basically.
We really should be filming this on the baseball diamond, I'm realizing.
There's time for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So K is strikeout, Brothers K, because the Chance family's dad, the dad in the story, was a Major League Baseball pitcher, but he got injured, and so he's not pitching anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 6 boys in this family. Can you imagine having 6 boys?
Nope.
I can't imagine having 6 kids, period,
Nope.
boys or girls. But you got 6 of them. The second youngest, his name is Erwin, and Erwin is just this like beautiful, guileless, fully devoted Jesus follower.
Okay.
Actually, they're Seventh-day Adventists, so they're very, very strict and literal in all their interpretations. It's set in the 1970s during the Vietnam War, and Erwin gets drafted to go to Vietnam.
Okay.
And of course, one of the 10 commandments is, you shall not murder. So one day while he's with his platoon, there's a young Vietnam boy or young man who comes in with explosives, and someone in the platoon catches him. And the captain gathers together the platoon and is trying to kind of work them up into a frenzy so that he can order this young Vietnamese man, young boy, executed, which of course you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to take him as prisoner of war, but you know, so he's like, now I want to hear from you all, why would a boy, if that's what he is, walk into a camp? So one soldier says, well, of course he's trying to kill us. And that's what the captain is trying to get after. And
right.
Then there's a bunch of other soldiers that chime in with the same basic thing. And then it comes to be Erwin Chance's turn to answer. And this is where I'm going to read from the story. Chance squinched his eyes shut, gripped his temples in his big right hand, and blurted out with the confidence of some yokel who's just seen his Lord and Savior, I really think I know why he did all this. We killed his dad, I bet. Or his brothers. We killed his sister and mother. If they were dead, he'd do this. Because put yourself in his shoes. If you were a kid and your family was dead, if you were a kid and we killed him, isn't that just what you do?
Wow. So he's taking some time to try to understand his enemy there.
Yeah, I mean, in a very bold sort of way, but he's also doesn't really get what he's saying in the context. Right. And here's how his platoon reacts. Mm-hmm. The men weren't just stunned by this outburst, they were pole-axed. I love that word, pole-axed. I'm going to try to use that this week in conversation. They were pole-axed. A few squirmed as if a priest or maybe somebody's mother had walked into the tent.
They didn't want to understand their enemy.
They sure did not.
No. But like we said, Melissa Flora Bixler says that if we want to have enemies well, we first need to understand them.
Yeah. I mean, the key word there is well.
Right.
You can have enemies.
Yeah.
Not very well.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it Jesus' way, you're going to have to first start with understanding. Mm-hmm. So today what we're going to look at is a particular kind of enemy. Not a sports enemy, not a war enemy, although maybe in history sometimes a war enemy.
Sure.
But enemies across different faiths, interfaith enemies, and then enemies within the faith. The first one is maybe you might talk about Christians and Jews or Muslims or Buddhists or Hindus or whatever. But then there's intra-faith enemies within the same basic religious tradition, like Methodists or Lutherans or Catholics or Baptists, or in the case of the Brothers K, Seventh-day Adventists.
Right.
And what we're going to learn today is that there's an airplane flying overhead.
It sure is.
So what we're going to learn today is if we want to have faith enemies well, we have to first understand them, but then we have to also draw the line.
Right.
Which is why we're at the line here.
Right.
And you're about to draw the line to not film in 40-degree weather outside.
I sure am.
Yeah.
I sure am. Well, let's pause here for a chat question. How do you respond to this idea that we first need to understand our enemies? Take a minute and talk about it.